Welcome to Biz Wire. I'm Joseph Nordstrom in Beijing. A large portion of China's previous economic success can be attributed to the easing of restrictions of China's household registration system, the Hukou system, a mechanism used to control China's internal migration. Now, since its formation in the 1950s, the Hukou system has divided the country into rural and urban populations, prohibited movement between provinces, and bestowed the urban population with basic welfare advantages, effectively relegating the rural population to second-class citizenry. From the early 1990s, rural migrants were no longer restricted from moving away from their homes. Since then, millions of rural citizens have migrated to urban areas and supplied Chinese industries with, at least until recently, a seemingly infinite pool of labor, which has significantly contributed to what the country has achieved economically. These more than 260 million migrant workers, however, lead second-class lives in the city with little access to subsidized schooling or health care. Tom Miller, author of China's Urban Billion, says the government is trying, despite resistance from vested interests, to balance urban and rural development and should make sure migrant workers get equal treatment when moving to the city. Many analysts believe that reforming the residency system is the major policy question mark that could get answered at the party's third plenum, a major meeting in October. By 2030, China's urban underclass could grow to 500 million people, or half of all urban residents, which could potentially be socially and politically explosive. Migrant workers who come to cities often leave their children at home since they're not able to transfer schools without paying exorbitant fees, so they fail to set up much of a life in the city and save as much as they can buying few goods or services. And for this reason, China has so far failed to reap many of the economic benefits from its huge surge in urbanization. If China's leaders are serious about transitioning the economy away from its reliance on infrastructure spending and manufacturing towards greater domestic consumption of goods and services, they need to help rural migrants become genuine consumers. And so Hukou reform is a major test of whether the new leadership truly desires reform, so expectations are especially high for this fall's government meetings. Previous administrations have experimented with reform on the fringes of Hukou for years, but have not delivered on calls to overhaul the system, which affords services to people based on where they live, like health insurance, retirement pension, and schooling. Now, Bill Bishop of the highly regarded Sinocism newsletter says that money, resources, and bias towards rural residents are some of the major obstacles to changing the Hukou system. Now, Hukou reform could give a major boost to domestic consumption, as migrant workers tend to not integrate into the cities they work in and save most of their income in case of a medical emergency or their children's education. If workers felt more secure, they might be encouraged to spend more and gradually become part of the city community instead of making up what has become a huge underclass population and a source of worry for those in power. Well, this is Biz Wire on the Blue Ocean Network. Stay tuned for more in Economic Insight.